Opening day 2021, going off the grid.
Glenn McDonald with 54 Bust, and today I want to talk about something I think that all boaters should have in their boat: tools. Stick around and you'll find out why our boat was parked on the side of the creek with no lower unit on it. 54 Bust and 54 second starts now. Hey guys, Glenn McDonald here. So yesterday, June 19th, was the opener of muskie fishing up in Northwestern Ontario, and me and my buddy Dave were out. We're going on a little adventure. We're heading up a creek to try and check out a back country lake. And as we got further and further into this creek and this river, and I'll throw a little bit of a video here to show you what the creek looked like as we were going in, it got shallower and shallower, and as we got to the actual side creek that led into the lake, we nosed in there and we realized that it was just way too shallow to get in. So we tried to get ourselves out of there, but it was so soft underneath us that as soon as we stirred up that bottom, it just turned to black muck all around us, and we sucked in a bunch of that black muck into the water inlet into the impeller. So as we got the boat out of this creek, we started to drive away, and we didn't get the overheating alarm, but it wasn't running right, and there was no water coming out the little telltale, and we knew we had an issue. So we stopped on the side of the creek and we tried to reassess our situation and figure out what was wrong. Our first kind of thing to check was we were going to check the grates down at the bottom of your lower unit, and so we stopped. We did that. So I always carry a toolkit in my boat with just the basic of tools to try and get by kind of an emergency situation. We took the little grates off of the lower unit. It looked clean, and then we knew that we had more issues inside. So long story short, we took the cowl off the motor. We pulled the return line off of the thermostat. We pulled the thermostat housing out. We tried to dump water down through there, and we weren't getting water coming out of the lower unit. Our next step was we're going to have to remove this lower unit in the middle of a creek, in the middle of the woods. We're about 3 or 4 miles down this creek, no cell service. Thankfully, I've had that lower unit off of that motor, so I knew kind of what I was getting into. But in my toolkit, I had standard size wrenches. It didn't have metric, and my Suzuki motor is all metric wrenches. So we were able to get the lower unit off with the boat sideways on this creek. I'll include a few photos here below to show you guys kind of what we were into. Thankful that we had the tools. I was able to get the lower unit off. I was able to pull the impeller out, and it was blocked with mud. We were able to clean it, flush it out, get it back together with the tools that we had on hand, and we were able to get ourselves out of this situation. But it could have been a lot worse if I didn't have any tools on hand. So we made a mental note that we are going to have to up our tool selection for my specific motor. So I just want to talk today about some of the tools that I think some of you guys should at least keep in your boat, and especially if you're going away from the more popular lakes. If you're going to some of those lakes that are a little bit more off the grid, you need to have at least some basic tools, and it also helps to have some understanding of your motor, of your boat, possibly your trailer, anything that you can kind of do a little bush fix to get yourself going, especially in a situation where you don't have cell service. Okay, so I come home and I kind of went through, and I already knew what I needed for tools in the metric sizes to try and work on my particular Suzuki motor. My other motor's in Evinrude, so I need the same kind of setup of tools. So when I come home yesterday, I knew I needed to put the proper stuff in here. So what we use is one of these size boxes. It's fairly waterproof. It doesn't take up a lot of real estate in your boat, and it actually packs a lot of stuff in here. In the top small compartment, I just keep a fillet knife. Can use it for a number of different uses. And then as we open it, it has a tray on the top that I keep just, again, general stuff, a bunch of different sizes of pliers, cutters, regular pliers, needle nose pliers. I keep a utility knife, screwdrivers of various sizes. Look at your own equipment and see what type of stuff you need for your application. An all-in-one screwdriver, also that will take different size bits, electrical tape, fuses for all the things that I need in my boat, connectors for wire in my boat, spare batteries for anything that you might need in your boat. And as we dig a little bit deeper, this is actually a recharge kit for one of our life vests, the self-inflate style, vice grips, cable straps. These are valuable for a number of different uses. We have your standard adjustable crescent wrench, channel lock, pump style pliers. This is basically what got us to be able to take our motor apart yesterday when I didn't have the right size wrenches. I was able to get almost every bolt that I needed to get out using these to break them loose, and then I could use a standard size wrench that was too large on them to try and do the rest. So here's some of the stuff that I've added since yesterday. Well, this I already had wire strippers for the connectors that I had. So since yesterday when I come home last night, I added a small socket set that will fit in the adjustable screwdriver. And I have a collection of metric wrenches and nut drivers and all the popular sizes that I'm going to need. I have some wrenches in standard sizes, again, in all the sizes I'll need. So there's a nut driver, and I have sockets in metric sizes, again, in all the popular sizes that I'm going to need in my boat. And I also have a ratchet here. I have a floating prop wrench. I have a screwdriver kit. Again, a lot of this is kind of specific to the things that I need on my motors. And something else that we keep, it's hard to see in this bag, but I have spare prop nuts for both of my motors, thrust washers. We keep stainless steel cotter pins in here, because changing a prop on the water that you damage, if you have this in a spare prop, that's great. But if you loosen that prop nut and it falls to the bottom of the lake and you don't have a spare, you're not going anywhere. Just buy a cheap, they're cheap, get a spare nut, any kind of washers that you need for your particular motor, and get some stainless steel cotter pins. It's just cheap insurance. And the last thing I have in here is a set of spark plugs for my Suzuki, which I'd probably never have to change on the water, but if I do, they're in there. So all that stuff fits in that one box. And now I know that I will have enough tools to do at least what we did yesterday, taking the motor apart, taking the lower unit off if we have to clear any obstruction in the impeller. And I know that anything that I need to do on the water, I have enough tools now to do it. And if it's anything more than I can do on the water with this, then I'm gonna have to call for help anyway. But just build yourself a toolkit for your boat and for your application, and hopefully you don't end up in a little predicament like we did. But all in all, it turned out good. We didn't lose our heads, and it really helped that I really knew what to do with that particular motor. So if you guys are ever in doubt, you know, ask at your service shop or ask a friend that knows about that kind of stuff, because it really is valuable to know a little bit, at least to try and troubleshoot some issues on the water. Hopefully you guys find this valuable, and I know it was a valuable lesson for us. And until next time, we'll see you guys out on the water. 54 or bust.